To all of you out there on the interwebs, want a spoon? Brohand Wise here, slash Jeff, and today I'm hitting you guys with my Dragon Age 2 review. So, Dragon Age 2 took me about a week to beat. It's a pretty lengthy game. Well, it kind of depends on how much you're doing it, because there's a lot of little quests you can do that I did without realizing that I didn't need to do them. So I kind of feel like a fool. So, Dragon Age 2 is pretty good. It's a pretty fun game. It's a lot better this time for the Xbox than it was in the first game. The first game just felt kind of broken for the Xbox. I still liked playing the first one for the Xbox because the plot and all the choices you're able to make and everything that happened in that game, like that was all pretty cool because it really felt like you had an impact on the overall story of the game. Dragon Age 2 kind of takes that overall impact and like amplifies it. Like you are one of the most important, like one of the most deciding factors in the story. Granted, the story is going to play out like it's going to play out, but a lot of the key decisions in the story play out because of the choices you make. And granted, I guess they do force you to make those choices, but it never feels that way at the time. That's the great thing about Dragon Age, about most Bioware games, is it feels like you are the ones making those choices, even though the game is kind of forcing you to make it. It's actually pretty clever for Bioware to do that. It really makes you feel like you're in the game. The combat for the Xbox works a lot better this time because there's more of a satisfying feel whenever you hit A button, like actually feels like you're hitting someone this time. And it's faster, it's more fluid, it's just more fun this time. It's not that deep if you play it like a button masher because it just button mash, but it still feels rewarding, it still feels pretty fun. I'm sure if you play it for computer, it's very deep and very intense, but I've just never been one of those look down from the top kind of guys. Like I don't know, I've never been immersed into that kind of combat. I gotta say, one of my other favorite films of Dragon Age 2, even though there is some people would argue with me it is on the internet, like some would, but I really enjoyed the characters in this game, and I enjoyed the unique relationships you could form with them. Because it's over a patch of time, you actually do form permanent, long-lasting relationships with the other characters in your party. So I thought that was actually pretty good. And I gotta say, out of all the characters in the Bioware game, I think my character's relationship with Isabella was probably my favorite because it made me laugh pretty hard. Dragon Age 2 is a bit of a graphical step up from Dragon Age, mainly in art design. The first Dragon Age didn't look bad, but it looked kind of drab because it just kind of looked like a fantasy Mass Effect, and it didn't really work. Like Mass Effect looks amazing, but the transition from science fiction to fantasy didn't work so well in Dragon Age Origins. But in Dragon Age 2, the art design took a bit of a different route, so it pays off the game just having its own distinct feel, and the game actually looks a lot better by the art design, even though it's the same graphics engine as Mass Effect in the first Dragon Age. Two quick quips with the game that kind of irked me a little bit, but I'm being really nitpicky when it comes to these. For starters, as opposed to Mass Effect, the eyes in Dragon Age don't look right. Like in Mass Effect, you can tell there was a serious amount of time that went into the eye movements, and it made the eyes just look real. Like the way they moved, like you could see there was something behind them. Like there was more to it than just what was going on in the exterior. Dragon Age, it's there in the facial expressions, but it's not there in the eyes. It's just with the eye animation, it's all on the surface. There's nothing going on behind the eyes. You can't see any real thought process going on behind it. They'll say what's going on behind it, and you can usually tell if they're happy or sad or angry or whatever, but you can't tell there's thinking going on behind those eyes. That's really, really nitpicky, I know. But after just how amazing Mass Effect did with that, it kind of bugs me that it wasn't the same in Dragon Age. My other quick little advice about the game is, although the main plot is good in the sense that it is the rise of a champion, there is a distinct lack of drive. Like in the first act, it's you're trying to complete one objective. Act 2, you're trying to complete another objective, and Act 3 is a third objective. And all three are only loosely connected by the events that happen in the first, second, or third act. Like, they easily could have built the game based on each act alone, but they decided to connect them loosely by separate. You're chronicling your own journey from becoming a refugee to a champion. So it works for this, but there's a lack of drive. At some points in Act 1 and Act 2, you just feel no real reason to be doing anything because you just don't see a point behind it. But other than those two little, it's a really fun game. It works out really well. I'm hoping there's a third Dragon Age coming up sometime because the ending made me go boo. So hopefully there'll be a third Dragon Age, so that will tie together a couple of loose ends from the past two games. But yeah, that is my Dragon Age 2 review. So other than that, not much is going on. In all honesty, I will do what I can to make vlogs in the next few weeks, but school is going to be brutal. Total lack of focus on anything right now. I'm having a very hard time keeping my mind in one place. It's kind of wah. So I'll do my best to keep updating you guys with vlogs, but can't make any guarantees. And please wish me your best because I'm very screwed without it. Alright, that's all for me today. So, Brohan the Wise / Jeff out.